Welcome back to the program. Let's go live to Liberal MP, member for Casey, Aaron Violi. A lot of focus on Qantas, on Queensland. This week, though, we're going to be turning our attention Wednesday to the CPI. There's so much at stake with that number. The Treasurer adamant the government's doing everything it can when it comes to trying to tackle cost of living on a heap of fronts. What's your reaction to that?
Well, we're going to wait and see and watch with interest on Wednesday, Kieran, but it doesn't look great, and we're seeing inflation entrenched well above the band at over 3%. And as I've said for many times to you and your viewers, this government has continued to treat the symptoms, not the cause. For 2.5 years, they've either ignored the problem, they were distracted and focused on other issues. When they finally turned their attention to it, they started to treat the symptoms. They haven't addressed the structural causes. They have got no plans for productivity growth. The ultimate way to bring inflation into the band sustainably while driving economic growth is productivity. Yet this government does not spend one moment talking about it. They've got no initiatives, no plans, and that's why we're seeing Australian inflation entrenched above the band while other countries are coming down and cutting interest rates.
When we talk about that Qantas issue, upgrades, do voters care about this if the politicians declare any gifts that they receive, including flight upgrades?
Well, I think the voters do care, Kieran. They care particularly when there's some links here that we need to explore that go to ultimately costing the Australian people potentially money, and that's where the real questions are. We know from Joe Aston's book, and the Prime Minister hasn't answered these questions yet, that he personally, as Minister for Transport and Shadow Minister for Transport, directly rang the CEO of Qantas asking for upgrades to business class for personal flights. Now, that's very significant that he's rung and asked when that's in his direct portfolio of responsibility. He hasn't denied those claims. He hasn't clarified those claims yet. Yes, he declared them, and that's an important step that we all need to adhere to. But asking for them as opposed to just receiving them as part of a process are two different things. And then when he comes to power as Prime Minister, his government makes a decision that protects Qantas and the size of the market share that Qantas has in this country, driving prices up for consumers. So that's why the Australian people care about this, because it looks like there's a cosy relationship between the Prime Minister and the then CEO of Qantas that has directly led to a cost to the Australian people. And Anthony Albanese, as Prime Minister, has refused to answer the question of did he personally ring Alan Joyce asking for these upgrades. That's a significant question that he's refused to answer, but he needs to answer it.
On the Queensland election, a change of government, does that make the federal coalition bullish heading into the federal campaign, not that far away?
I mean, it's always nice to see another LNP Liberal government. Obviously, we had the Northern Territory recently as well, Queensland now, and congratulations.
And one with Italian heritage as well, like yourself.
I was going to say, it's pretty, I mean, let's take a step back, Kieran, and talk about multicultural Australia. Prime Minister Albanese, Premier Malinaskis, Premier Finocchiaro, and now Premier Christofouli. Like, that is actually genuinely a great celebration of the multicultural story that is Australia. That is great to see. It's also, as I said, great to see an LNP government. We're building momentum, but we know there's a lot of work to do. We're not complacent about what we need to do. I was out door knocking this morning in my community, and people are struggling, whether it's housing, it's cost of living. Roads is a huge issue because governments aren't investing in those. So there's significant challenges the Australian people face. We honestly believe that we need to continue to prosecute the case of the government letting us down, but continue to put positive policies forward on how we can solve some of the challenges the Australian people have. That's what we're going to continue to do up until election day, and I have faith that the Australian people will see the Liberal Party and their coalition as the solution to the challenges they face.
Okay. Aaron Violi, we will stay in touch. Thanks.
Thanks, Kim.
Authorised by Aaron Violi, Liberal Party, Lilydale.